Everybody turn to page 461 for just a minute, please. I think we've gone over most of this. Remember, for the alternation of generation, you just need to know that the life cycle has a multicellular diploid and haploid stages. That's all you need to know for that. Dominant generation is the one you see the most of, or lasts the longest. Pollen, remember, is just the dusty stuff with the sperm in it from a plant. Cotyledon is just the seed leaf. You should know it provides food for the embryo, but that's what it is. Number 2, where it asks for the portion that produces new stuff in the plant, that would be the meristematic tissue. You should know that the blade is attached to the stem by the petiole. You see here that you have to be able to identify these leaf mosaics on the tree. Number 5, you're going to have to be able to name these shapes, the margins, and the type of venation that they have. The only confusing one I see there is E. He says that it is E is orbicular and it's undulate, but the point is that the veins, he says they're pinnate, even though to some people they look kind of parallel. And so I would give you credit either way on that. Just answer it as best you can.
Which one's midriff?
It's supposed to be in the middle there, and I hate pictures like that, and there is one something confusing on the test. You just answer it the best you can, and I'm going to give you credit. Just make sure your answer is right by your, what you've studied, okay? And then you have to know the 4 types of tissue. On number 6, you see there that you have to know that these tissues are either photosynthetic or their purposes for transport, for protection, for support. You need to know that what opens and closes on the stomata is the guard cells, that the lighter shade underneath is the spongy mesophyll. If the leaf was lighter on the top and the darker on the bottom, that means the spongy's on the top and the palisade's on the bottom. So you need to be able to think in those terms. You need to know the pigments and be able to, tell me that anthocyanins have multiple colors and the carotenoids have the 2, orange and yellow. You need to know on page 462 that a deciduous tree has an abscission layer, so an evergreen has no abscission layer, and that cuts off the stem and the petiole, so the vascular system gets cut off. You need to be able to identify the 4 parts of the root. Look at the pictures. I'm going to tell you right now on your test, you need to be able to identify it from the fibrovascular bundles. Be able to look at the bundles and tell monkey face, monocot, or not. Okay. On, let's see, 14, he asks what allows the woody stems to continue to grow. It's because they have bark, or you could put cork cambium or cork. The function of the vascular cambium is to make new vascular tissue. Anytime you hear cambium, think it's to make new of whatever tissue it's talking about. Okay? Is the stem, if it has cork cambium, is it woody or herbaceous? Woody, for sure. What kind of vascular tissue makes up most of the wood in a woody stem? Xylem, because that's mostly your straws, and what's on the outer part of the stem, which would be the inner bark, that would be the phloem. What is the dominant generation in moss? That would be the gametophyte generation, and remember, if it's the gametophyte, it's haploid. In the fern, he mentions the antheridium and the archegonium, which are the male and female of the gametophyte generation, and that is not the dominant generation in a fern. It is in a moss. So you need to know those. Why are plants from phylum Bryophyta smaller? Because they're not vascular, right? So they can't get very big because no vascular system. 15-foot tall tree has a root system that's only 4 feet deep. Which kind of root does it have? Fibrous, because a taproot is going to go way down. A fibrous root is like a little bush, and this is a 15-foot plant with a 4-foot root. That means it's a fibrous root. 22, what are the male and female reproductive organs in a coniferophyta, which would be your seed cones and your pollen cones? Fundamental differences between the monocot and the dicot. Monocot has 1 seed leaf, dicot has 2 seed leaves. And then you have to know some other differences, which we already discussed. A plant that produces seed cones and pollen cones, is it vascular? Yeah. And what phylum does it belong to? Coniferophyta. And then a plant that produces flowers, what phylum? Anthophyta.